Our last guest today is the Chief Executive of the New Zealand Green Building Council, where the vision is that New Zealanders work and live in a healthy, efficient, productive and environmentally sustainable building and buildings. Please welcome Alex Cutler.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honoured for two reasons. One, you're all still here, which is great, or some of you are still here, so I'm very much appreciative of that. So thank you for, I know that it's great weather outside and you're probably dying to get outside and enjoy the last bits of sunshine. The second reason being is that I have a confession to make. I think I've been listening to most of the presentations today, and I must be the only person that does not have a formal connection with Christchurch. As you can tell, I'm a POM. So I'm not a Cantabrian, I'm not even a Kiwi, but I do call New Zealand home. I live in Auckland and my partner is a Kiwi, my children are Kiwis. So I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm not coming here to tell you what you need. And when we talked about having a vision, I kind of don't have a vision. I've got lots of ideas and concepts that I want to leave you with, but particularly I want to leave you with some principles about the process of how you do this and what you do. I think one of the things that's really astonished me, not astonished in a bad way, but astonished, delighted, if you like, is that I've also spent a bit of time looking at all the post-it notes, and there is a remarkable congruency with what you all want. There are some details that will differ, but on the whole, you all want the same kind of city going forward, and I think that's a fantastic thing. So I need to speak a bit louder. You want me to use this one? I can do that too. Is that better? Sorry. Okay, so I was saying that I think the post-it notes are fantastic. So you all want the same thing on the whole. I think there's going to be something about the process where you agree the principles and you agree the vision of what you want. Not everybody might like the actual individual details. So if we're talking about buildings, I am sure that there will be buildings that some of you won't like, but they'll, on the whole, the vision will help them all fit together in principle. Okay, so I thought I'd give you a quick overview of some of the things that I'll talk about. Because I represent the New Zealand Green Building Council and I mainly talk about buildings, I thought we'd start with some of the building blocks. And then I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about how that starts to fit together in terms of a building or a green building, and then again how that starts to fit into the wider sustainable built environment, and leave you with some of the ideas about how that then fits into a sustainable vision for a city. I don't have Lego, I've only got wooden building blocks. I thought it was really important to talk to you about some of the key elements. Now, we talk about many more elements than this. I just wanted to talk about these four because I thought they were the most important. Energy is the most important thing to think about when you're building a building, whether it's your own home or whether it's a commercial building, it's a school, it's an industrial building. Energy is the most important thing for lots of different reasons. It's partly about pressure on the planet. It's also partly about rising cost of energy prices, and creating, I don't want to get too complicated, but creating a thermal envelope. So making sure that you have a sealed thermal envelope to your building is probably one of the most important things that you can do. So I put that up there as the first thing. Water. We know that the government is interested in water. They've been looking at freshwater management and access to fresh water. And you would think that New Zealand has tons of fresh water, and in a way it does, but access to it and having it in the right places does not always, the two don't always necessarily correlate. So actually, when you build your building, it's really important that we think about water, how you use it, where you get it from, where you store it, where you reuse it. And the critical point here to leave you with is that drinking water quality for everything you do is not particularly necessary. We use drinking water quality water for everything at the moment. What's it like inside the building? How does it feel? Now, this is kind of really important because we spend a massive amount of time inside buildings, both buildings that we work in as well as our homes. And so what it feels like, how much light there is, how much fresh air, how much greenery, what are the materials that you're using inside the building, the paints, the furniture, the textiles, that kind of thing. All of that comes together and has a massive impact on your mood, your productivity, if you like, and how you feel about where you are. And then my final particular element for this that I wanted to talk about was the materials that you're using to put into your building. And it's not particularly to discriminate one material against another and say you need to build in this particular material, but it's judicious use of material at the right point in time, but also to think about how you close that loop, how you don't waste materials. And so, in our rating tools, we think a lot about the materials that go into a building. So you should all recognize this building. I put this up because I thought, I'm going to get people saying to me, why do you need green buildings? Why do we need green buildings in Christchurch? You have the greenest building in New Zealand in Christchurch. You already have a significant advantage over many other populated areas in this country. So this is clearly the Christchurch Civic Building. It's a 6 Green Star design rated building, which is the best we have to date. And there are some great examples about why this is such a fantastic building. Clearly you'll know it as a New Zealand Post building previous to its incarnation here. So it's already a great example of reuse of a building. And there are a whole load of fantastic features inside that building which make it a very efficient and well-run building. But why would you want green buildings generally? Well, I don't want to bore you with statistics, but there are a whole load of economic reasons why it makes much more sense to have a green building. It generally is cheaper to run. It generally has a higher value at the end of the day. So there are lots of good economic reasons. There are clearly lots of good environmental reasons because you are using less materials, you're using less energy, etc. And there are also lots of social reasons why you would want a green building. The productivity levels of people that are working in commercial green buildings is much, much higher than in many other buildings. I also wanted to talk to you about, I don't want to just talk about commercial buildings, which is the vast majority of what I do, but I also wanted to talk to you about homes. And Homestar is something that we call, it's a residential rating tool, and what it does is you can go online to this website and you could take a 20-minute questionnaire and it gives you a rating of your home and it gives you a set of recommendations about how you could improve the environmental sustainability of your home. So in your particular situation here in Christchurch, let's suggest, for example, you are one of the luckier people and you have cracked jib and you need to replace your jib. You have an opportunity to upgrade your home, to put in insulation. This tool will help you work out where are the areas of your home or the attributes of your home that you ought to think about when you'd like to improve. Now, I realise that there's a whole load of issues around replacement versus upgrade with homes in Christchurch, but hopefully this tool will give you an idea of where you could invest your money if you wanted to. So this is a fairly random picture. This is not particularly my vision of what Christchurch ought to look like because I didn't particularly want to give you a vision, but I think there are some, looking at the post-its, there are some really clear ideas. We're talking about great open space. We're talking about iconic buildings of whatever size. We're talking about great infrastructure, potentially more decentralized infrastructure in some ways, precinct ideas, mixed use in the city, people living and working and playing together in the same kind of places. We're talking about great public transport, great access with cars where it's appropriate, spaces for families to play, spaces for older people to enjoy city living as well. So I think there's a whole load of great ideas that are out there. So if you haven't read the post-it notes, I'd encourage you to go do that. You're not the only ones that are trying to reinvent themselves. Now, I know that Sydney doesn't have this particular situation that you have, but there are many cities around the world where you're part of a global movement in terms of where you would like to go, or possibly where you'd like to go. And Sydney has done a huge amount of work around being a sustainable city. the city that Rachel put slides up, she put much better slides up than the ones that I have. And it's Malmö in Sweden, and they also have done some great examples. And the thing that I would urge you to do with these examples is to look at them, figure out what's the best, and take it and adapt it to your situation. I don't think anybody's suggesting that you have to be like Malmö, you have to be like Sydney. It's about taking the best of what others have done and using it to Christchurch's best advantage. Okay, I've raced through it really quickly, so you've got lots of time for questions at the end. This is my last slide. I want to leave you with some principles. Prepare for the future. We are not just talking about right now, we're not just talking about the next 5 years, we're talking about 30 to 50 years. You have a longer opportunity here. And you need to think about climate change, you need to think about rising obesity, you need to think about aging populations, you need to think about rising sea levels. All those kinds of things need to be in your consciousness when you're thinking about what you're asking for.